And we are back.
Yep. You know how, like, in traditional sports, you, like, tap your team when you want to go for a break, and then you, like, confer, like, you have your little messages, let them know what the next tactics are going to be. Shake it off. Just need a little bit more of those after getting picked off by the Magnet Storm collapse there. And so the Robin's Cringers squad is just regrouped. They're getting ready with this Rift Herald they did manage to pick up. And we're going to see how much we can get out before the next permanent pause.
Second, I was wondering if they were going to hard commit to that. Obviously, with Smeetsumade putting so much effort into making sure that top lane was pushed, but they are now going to both back off, pick up their respective items. Right now, 10.5 minutes, less than a minute for the next Drake, and we can see Smeetsumade is already pathing in that direction.
And I do like this because if you can get Biochipmunk ahead, Xayah does pretty well into the Fiora in these fights, because while Fiora can parry the Feather Recall, if they're saving it for that, then they pretty much have to deal with the Rel that we saw right there was big problems for Trilog. So, as far as it goes, there is enough CC on the Robin's Cringers squad that they can oppress the Fiora if they start trying to jump in and hard 1v9. I don't think they're going to be at that point for quite a little while. As we take a look through, and no mythic items coming out yet, still in the component level. And just the thing to note that I want to bring attention to is double Noon Quiver for the Robin's Cringers. That is not a very good combat item. It's obviously a great laning item, gets you good gold input, helps your farm and speeds you up, but if you're actually in a straight up fight, it does not offer remotely as many base stats as the other kind of items we could see. So let's see if there is a force happening. Nope, just going to be handing over the dragon, and wishfully Ezreal ulting.
Yeah, we now see some people might consider that unfortunate. It is going to be a Cloud Rift this game, rather than the much more popular Ocean.
Yeah, that would have been pretty much the perfect storm for Ernst to 1v9 if it was an Ocean Rift, but as is right now, the actual Rift changes itself of adding these speed areas does benefit the Fiora quite a lot, as we see a hard trade on the Galvanizer.
Yeah, taking a lot of damage there. And as you were saying, because Ernx has such priority on the wave, they're always trading with the advantage because the Grasp is up, while Galvanizer's isn't.
And collapse here from Sweet Summer Day. They might try and make something happen with the ultimatum, but that is a scary Fiora. You need everything to go just perfect, otherwise you are handing them a double kill and the game on a platter.
Absolutely, yeah. Ernx very scary at the moment. Not far at all from completing the mythic item, which by the looks of their current build will be the Divine Sundra.
Yeah, could be that or Triforce. We'll have to see which they opt for as big trade mid,
Fallen
actually.
Rain, absolutely! Okay. I was not expecting that much damage so quickly, but Fallen Rain has that augment. That empowered death ray is available, just flashes forward with the Chaos Storm and takes Ocean Rock out.
And I really like the just sheer confidence in that maneuver of, okay, Syndra, abilities on cooldown. They have the ult. I don't think I died to this. Fully commits, uses their flash aggressively. That is really not something you actually see from Victors basically ever. And while I really like the result for them, does manage to let them get a nice reset in here. They still have teleport advantage if they want to use it. But in the upcoming Dragon team fight that I expect to ensue, that will be a Victor without flash into a Rel, Syndra stuns, and a Camille. So, they may have sealed their own fate for the future, we just need to watch how well Fallen Rain can position in these upcoming team fights.
Yeah, if he can avoid being punished, then it is going to be a huge advantage, because it does power up him getting access to his other augments. And of course, at the end of the day, the Empowered Chaos Storm moving to deal extra damage. Ernx actually going deep under the tower here, manages to use the riposte on the Hextech ultimatum.
I have never seen somebody look so doomed and then instantly just shake it off like nothing had happened. That was
Yeah.
probably the worst trait they've taken in this laning phase, and they got the Camille's ult for nothing. So, I think they'll take those, as we see Chipmunk just getting funneled all of this bot lane tower right now. Plates had gone down, but they did manage to get the ones up until that point, as they've just continued to win top after diving the enemy and almost getting Camille ulted on the tower. The sheer confidence on Urks this game is just warranting this hard 1v1 matchup in the top lane. I don't think Galvanizer will be throwing down the gauntlet again.
Death Sentence lands onto Rob while he's taking out the control ward, but nothing will actually come of it. Galvanizer still not completed the mythic yet. Urks has the Divine Sundra is now finished, and he's just knocking down this top tower slowly. Obviously, plates have fallen, so not gaining quite as much gold as he could have, but the proxy as well means that Galvanizer can't even get up towards the tower. That said, though, Unks is relatively low health right here. It can't necessarily take the fight they want. Grand Challenge has been used. He's going to try and chase down. That first Vital Proc does a lot of damage, but it looks like Galvanizer will get to safety. Sweet Summer Day coming up to try and give their top laner some support. There is the engage. Gale Force was picked up on this Graves. If one more hit can land, he can maybe come through with the collateral damage. But Fallen Rain and Traleep are here. Sweet Summer Day is left completely out to dry. There is the Chaos Storm. Traleep will pick up the kill with the dot from the Blooming Blows. And that was a great answer from the careless mid-jungle duo.
And we saw that the Galvanizer did not get the hook shot onto the wall. They could have used their flash to follow onto the then riposteless Urks and get that kill. But in the end, it didn't end up mattering, because if they had gone for that play, they still would have ended up dying, along with Sweet Summer Day. As you said, great collapse from Tribe and Fallen Rain. They were already rotating up, as right now this is just a hard outplay.
Absolutely destroying Buttercup in the 1v1. The completed Gale Force, just so much extra value. There is the teleport, though. Unks is here. Featherstorm can be used and will be done. He will do so to get back under his tower and survive after the 1v1 outplay.
Really, really nice Featherstorm right there. Saves their life. Unks could have committed to continuing to chase there, knowing the Zaya didn't have E, but deciding not to, since they didn't get the Q reset, as Rob is just aggressively staring at this Camille. Won't be able to chase into the Victor, but because of that play, they are going to lose bot lane priority for this wave, and once again hand over a dragon.
Comes the true shot right,
Every time.
Quite close.
Every time.
But a third Drake pickup. 22 minutes for the potential soul for Robin's Cringes.
And while it is only Cloud Soul... No, that's
Soul's a soul, my guy.
Yeah, it's a soul. It's a soul. I was just looking to see who makes the most use out of that. Rel, obviously it's okay, but the problem being it amplifies your move speed after you ult, and Rel typically ults as they do crash down, which means that they're basically going to get next to no extra movement speed, because they've already just jumped in and dropped their horse off. When it comes to Chipmunk, they actually do get some value, being able to reposition nicely with their ult. Ocean Croc, not really. It's okay. They will typically be try kill. Yeah, safety for sure. It gives them a bit more outplay potential to dodge out from, like we saw from Fallen Rain's Victor earlier. But then for the rest of the top side, not too much as a big...
Oh my word! There is the burst coming through. Opts not to use the Unleashed power, only has completed the Luden's Tempest at this point. I'm actually not sure if he'd have been able to completely take that down. 3 members currently sit in the mid lane. Robin's Cringe is going to step back. Sweet Summer Day actually does take the Swirl Seed for his trouble. And actually, the Lilting Lullaby comes through as well. Great death sentence landed by Deep Deep 7. And Rob will be the next to fall. Double kill picked up by Fallen Rain. And that is a big trigger pulled by the Careless squad in the mid lane. Then will come the Herald. Down will go the tower.
And this is something we were talking about before the pre-game, actually, where there are really difficult comps to pull out right now. Ones that don't have any form of frontline that are starting to become more prevalent. We've seen G2 picking up, we've seen it with Cloud9 this week as well in the LCS. And they're very hard to maneuver because you need to be very precise. You can't ever overextend, you need to be very careful with how you position, and right now... Careless are doing a great job doing it with one of these comps. They do not have a designated front line. Anybody dies if they are picked from their team. Nobody has the added safety. It's only the actual riposte on Fiora. and then they're just praying for the death sentence to hopefully save them with the lantern. So it's a very on the knife's edge comp for Careless, and right now they're doing a great job of balancing just right, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can now use this mid lane pressure that they've got knocking down the towers and the gold lead we can clearly see across the map. Every role except for ADC is up in gold for the Careless squad, and that means Bio Chipmunk is the person to watch if you're a Robin's Cringes supporter.
Absolutely. After that 1v1 outplay, I am really looking forward to see how he continues to handle the rest of this game. We see Baron coming up in 10 seconds. I don't think either team is going to try and commit to that straight off the bat. But the big timer that we're all looking at, 2 minutes on the next Cloud Drake and the potential soul pickup for Robin's Cringes.
I don't know what I think of Ezreal's build. I'm just going to throw that one out there. I haven't seen this at all. It might be the Ezreal standard right now.
This is the Duskblade build.
Yeah.
This is the Duskblade build. I must admit, I am not necessarily a fan. I would much rather see him just go for the Divine Sundra for that extra sort of sustain, chunk damage.
And
I have seen it come up more. I really don't know what to think about the Duskblade Ezreal build.
It's like, if I'm trying to interpret, the enemy is a lot of squishy champions, so you can see why there they don't care as much about the percentage pen that Divine Sundra offers with the Mythic passive as Form Rain. This is very cheeky. At the end of the day, that's still a Camille with Triforce, so very dangerous position to be standing despite being 2 levels up.
He is on a 2-item spike, though. Seraph's Embrace completed alongside that Luden's Tempest. He will opt not to go aggressive, however. It looks like it's just going to send that Scryer's Bloom across. Just look for any Robin's Cringes vision. And we can see Treleep pairing up with Deep Deep 7, moving into the river, trying to claim some vision dominance.
Yeah, they want to clear out the river ahead of this Soul Point Dragon. Make sure that they can just deny that for an extra 5 minutes. And yes, while you said it is Cloud, at the end of the day, you still don't want the enemies to be getting the soul this early because they can always flip for an Elder and potentially just wipe you.
Oh, there's the catch on towards Rob236. Teleport coming in. That is going to be both teleports actually committed. So all 5 members of Careless have hard committed towards this bot side of the map. They will start off the Drake in just a few seconds, I believe. Oh, it does actually need to spawn first, Brackish Brit. It needs to actually be there for them to take it.
That is usually the step of things where it spawns, is then killed, and then waits for the next spawn, as far as it goes. But I think that Robin's Cringes aren't too upset with that, given the fact that they've just got critically the Fiora's teleport. That means that now they can actually look at objectives. The only thing is, if the enemy just gets complete control of your top side and threatens it with the Fiora, then it's not going to matter at all.
Yeah, 5 members strong in this topside jungle. Ernk's just going to casually steal away the Krug camp while taking out that control ward as well. And we can see, in this current game state, the advantage for Careless, despite being down 2 Drakes, is being shown up here. Treleep is almost caught out, but that is a great dark passage to safety. That is a 3-man sleep. Massive burst put through onto Sweet Summer Day. Rob will not survive the ignite. He actually try and take the red buff on the way out, and the members of Robin's Cringes are just trying to run for their lives. Treleep flashes over the wall, has to go into the Zhonya's, and the 4 remaining members of Robin's Cringes will escape safely, but that now leaves 5 members of Careless to go and threaten for the Baron.
And this is the Fiora comp that is about to get the Baron. Teleport available for Galvanizer. Syndra currently taking a ward. They know that it's at 4k right now, and nobody's going to be here with a chance to steal. They've just got it. Careless are going to walk away, 5 people happy with that Baron buff on top of them. And once again, another pause. Oh boy, I thought it was about time for a little bit of
Third time's the charm!
Nice yeah, Well, yeah,
One heck of a game state, though. 3 dragons on one side, Baron on the other. As you said, though, Baron with a Fiora comp that likes to have her on the side split pushing. So we now have either a 1-4 or potential 1-3-1, although I can't see Victor wanting to be on the side lane. I think he'd be much better with a stronger single unit in the mid.
Yeah, we haven't really got to talk all much about Fallen Rain's Victor this game, mostly because outside the initial outplay in the early few levels where they did get that solo kill, there hasn't been all too much action involving them. They really do not suit to a side lane. Victor does okay, but when the enemy has a Camille, it's never safe, because you can just get Camille ulted with a Rel chain stun, and it doesn't really matter until you have a stopwatch or something like this. You're just gonna die. You don't have the ability to stay safe. So the way I expect and hope that Careless tried to play this out is they send the Fiora to presumably bot lane. Yeah, I would guess bot lane. Then they have Fallen Rain push out top. They use that topside vision they just secured for the Baron, and then have the Thresh walk in between mid and top. Sorry. And as the Thresh always threatens with the Lantern to save whichever lane Camille tries to hard force onto, that means that you have to commit at least 3 to 4 members on the side of Robin's Cringes to do anything. But if you do that, then you leave Fiora in a lane with 1 or 2 people, and based on this game, Erx is more than happily going to take that fight, and will probably win in the process, as we see the entire Control Ward shop stocked up by Leicester. I love it.
You want vision dominance, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, and they came to pay and came to play, and right now, Robin's Cringes, they were just fishing for a very cheesy pick right there, hoping that somebody would walk into them early. I don't hate it. It's one way that you could potentially get back in the game, where if you do manage to find Fiora there and you catch them before they actually get to do anything in Baron, you buy yourself all but 6 minutes time of negating most of the split push power from the enemy team.
Definitely. Careless not falling for that Deathbrush play, and as you say, Erx is going to set up on a side lane. Fallen Rain is there as well. However, there are 2 members of Cringes there. We might see an engage here. Sweet Summer Day going for the engage here by a Chipmunk going forwards. Fallen Rain is going to go very low, does not have the stopwatch available, but just casually drops the Chaos Storm and burns Sweet Summer Day to a crisp. The other members of Robin's Cringes going to fall back in a bit of a panic, I think, as 2 members currently pushed in the mid lane. The inhibitor turret should go down. Rob236 does manage to catch onto Buttercup, will get taken down by Ocean Croc. The tower did still fall, however, and Erx is still hard pushing in the top lane. Galvanizer is going to go on towards Deep 7. I think he will not survive this. There is the Hextech Ultimatum. The life will certainly be taken. Meanwhile, however, Erx just goes and takes the top inhib tower.
And just threatened across the entire map. Leicester just running it across everywhere. You could see that just the chain of logic of, okay, well, we need to stop this bot lane. We can focus the Victor like we were discussing. They tried that, and it backfired in a big, big way. Fallen Rain just one-tapping Sweet Summer Day, who tried to get very aggressive, went for the pick, but this Victor is very far ahead, and with the penetration from the Shoes and the Ludens against people that do not stack MR, he is doing some insane damage. And after they got to walk away from that, it was already spelling doom for the Cringes, because they had to run to the other side of the map. Then they had to stop the mid play. But all in the meantime, we saw Erx manage to take 2 towers in the top lane. So I would say that's a pretty big play for the Careless squad. They're very happy of how that turned out, because now they can send the Victor, who's about to have TP right now, match the Syndra, get pressure in this top side, come down, secure the next dragon for free, and then just walk it in on the next Baron.
So it would seem, and heavily reflected in the current gold, a 6k gold lead for Careless right now, and obviously they can just walk in dragons, the next one spawning in 40 seconds with how much vision dominance they have on the map.
And you can just see it in the items of, even if you look at the Seraphs in the mid lane, Ocean Crocs is not even fully stacked yet, so they do not have that massive spike that comes in when the item does fully complete. It's a lot of AP that they're missing out on in inventory. They're still, I think, that's 3/4 of the way through it at the moment. And since they're not getting to interact with enemy champions, it's not going to stack fast. Frankly, Careless can just camp bushes with their disgusting vision control from all the control wards they worked out of the base with. It has been, as you can see here, just the bot side. How do you approach this jungle?
Ooh.
You are not
5-man stack on top, though. Erx is going to get absolutely stabbed upon, and once again cancels the Hextech Ultimatum and just walks away. You can't let him get away with that.
Oh, the patience on Erx right there. They were just so confident, waiting for the hook shot that never came out. Complete hard read. Galvanizer was trying to bait them into using it beforehand so they could get the ult lockdown and then combo with the Rel. But just The sheer audacity of this Fiora to just look you in the face and stroll away. Good stuff by the Fiora gameplay, and I'm glad we got to see this skill matchup.
That's just excellent presence of mind from Ernx, knowing what the important CC was, knowing that if the Hextech ultimatum comes down, there is no escape, knowing what to save the riposte for. Great play.
Certainly so, and like we see now, it's just a dire situation. We might even see that Careless just siege the inhibs one by one. I believe that Syndra does still have the tower in the bottom lane as the only one available outside the Nexus turrets. So it's really just down to how Careless want to go about this, if they want to just farm jungle and really just chain another set of items on top, because they haven't took the inhibs critically. That means that the cringers are not getting the extra gold that you would normally get from just funneling minion waves into the enemy base. You're not having the super minions that are killing enemy waves. So, in actual fact, they really are not going to have a good way back in the game until inhibs start to go down. And when they do, Baron up in 40, that's going to be the end of the game.
Oh, Ohms getting engaged in a 2v1 on the top side. Sweet Summer Day going incredibly low already. The collateral damage does come out. It looks like Ernx will actually fall. He's still going to take out Galvanizer in a 1v4 situation. Oh,
and it's not over.
Still, the fur aggression by a Chipmunk gets slept. Rob236 will go down. The perfect use of the death sentence catches him as he comes down. Sweet Summer Day is going to flash back towards his Nexus, towards his fountain even. The Nexus will be looked on towards. 4 members of Careless stand strong against only Sweet Summer Day. No ultimate, no flash, very few tools here. I think this may well be the game.
The fact that they haven't come out and cleared this wave already means that this is certainly going to be the game. You can't stop them. Ernx has... Oh no.
Death sentence lands. There is the kill. 605 on Fallen Rain. The unsung hero for sure of this game. And there is the finish. Galvanizer valiantly jumps forward to try and get something done. But the game will go to Careless and they will sit 4-0 in the standings.
Yeah, certainly I'm not going to say expected result, there was definitely potential for upset there, but they are cementing happily their place with their similar matchup opponents this game. And as we can see, just sheer domination from basically minute one. Ernx in this top lane, getting the skill matchup. I think I'm just going to throw them the style MVP right now. I know it's not strictly a thing, but while Fallen Rain is the unsung hero of this game, they did everything they needed to, extremely just safe, not a death to their name, and while it took every resource known on the planet to manage to eventually kill Ernx, they did die, but the sheer top gap in the laning just meant that Fallen Rain just had to walk it in. They did a great outplay onto the Syndra, but as far as it goes, when you can't stop a Fiora, and you're trying to win via Soul, and you bad RNG a Cloud Soul, it was pretty doomed for the Robin's cringers from that point where, okay, well, if we had an ocean, if we had an infernal, frankly, even a mountain, we might have been able to threaten something, but when it's a cloud, yeah, they tried, but there was no coming back.
When it's a cloud with a comp that doesn't really benefit from it, as you were saying, yeah, a big shame for Robin's cringers, so they go down to 2-2, but that is not really saying too much about them right now. Obviously, they've still got to face DMUT1 in round 5, so we will see if they can step back up. Obviously, it looks as though DMU could be on a downswing at the moment. We'll see if they're picking up with their week 2.
Yeah, certainly so. I'm excited to get into round 5, though. This is a pair of teams that I think will have a much closer match on the scale of thing. When we join you again after our break, we'll be bringing you Portsmouth Paladins against Grey Warwick. I'm sure everybody watching has at least heard of Grey Warwick once or twice.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Newell Varsity Stage Week 2. Brackish Brit, Melvin Izzle, and we're coming back for round 5. We're going to have Portsmouth Paladins versus Grey Warwick. Actually, let's flip them around because they're on the different sides of the map.
Yeah, Portsmouth actually got choice of side for this game, and they decided on going for red. So we're going to have to see what they end up doing with that. There's a lot of very niche picks that are going to be coming out this game. Things like Erisu's Katarina will be banned, Grim Panthera's Echo will be banned. I say will as assumptions. Obviously, if they don't, then these are things that you certainly want to be watching, as a one trick on their one trick is always asking for a loss.
Yeah, generally speaking. And of course, we can talk about other priority weird picks. Sir Scrubbington, the Darius aficionado.
Yeah, actually played support for the Grey Warwick squad. I believe it was last split for the most part of it. Now they are back in the top lane on their signature Darius, and they have been tearing up a storm in solo queue with this. The very standard Conqueror, Stridebreaker, Ghost. All the things that you really hate to see happen to your top laner.
Experienced this. It is fun.
Pull one out.
Yeah. Oh, they did not let my Cho'Gath play the game at all.
Yeah, you had me at Cho'Gath. And especially looking at the champions that Portsmouth decided to play in the top lane last week, they had Volibear, Malphite, and Ornn. They're coming into this week 1 and 2, and all of those picks are going to have a very rough time into Darius, as bruisers, brawlers, especially tanks, all suffer in the extended trades that Darius can offer. And while he did get a nerf a little while ago to his bleed passive, that was not really too impactful, because usually if Darius is getting 5 bleed stacks on you, you're probably dead.
Lost.
Yeah, this level of play, you're probably like either dead or being like kited in some way, shape, or form. It's definitely not a good sign, we'll put it that way.
Absolutely, yeah. So, a very interesting matchup because, of course, the meta somewhat goes out of the window with all of these priority weird side picks, which is a nightmare for color casters. It's a lot of fun for me, though.
Yeah, it's going to be explosive if any of those picks make it through. And this was specifically the game where I'd been doing my best to find all the champions that people had that are going to do really nicely on the updated jungle coming in tomorrow, I believe the patch is. Just for a reminder for everybody, on that, it's going to be lower XP on most of the camps with the exception of Scuttlecrab and Wolves. So that means that ganking junglers, level 2 junglers, are expected to come back in a big way. Now, that doesn't completely change the prep, as if we take a look at the 2 junglers, the only fill for Grey Warwick, they have got Rek'Sai in their potential pool, whereas on the other side, it is Nidalee primarily for Sammy Youngles. And both junglers have played and won on Hecarim last week. The only difference being Sammy Youngles took 2 new games, which did not go so hot, would have done much better on the new patch, whereas the only fill was going on Lilia for their remaining game.
It did turn out to be a loss, but obviously Lilia is, generally speaking, Lilia is an enabler champion rather than a hard carry in and of herself.
Yeah, she has those moments where you could definitely solo win a fight with Lilia, but she
Casting my mind back to last game alone,
with
the 3-man lilting lullaby behind the Baron Pit was beautiful.
As long as Summoner Flash is available, Lilia can actually just end any team's existence. As long as there's not a 10-man sleep, but only a 5-man sleep, the champion has a lot of potential. With regards to strength of schedule, though, last week, we do need to point out that despite being, I believe, 1 and 3 on Portsmouth Paladins, they have had a tough journey to get here. Like, absurd. You could have basically just started ticking down from the top of the standings and just putting the Portsmouth Paladins against them. So, let me tell you a story.
Round 1, DMU, they won.
Unbelievably.
Round 2, Careless, is currently 4-0. Round 3, Robin's Cringers, who have shown up decently well. That was a loss for them. And then round 4 that has just gone through against Bristol Whipped. A little tidbit from production. They asked about the Bristol Whipped game and the response was, we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, you can guess why after anybody that saw their performance last week. Bristol Whipped and Careless, clearly on another level right now.
Yeah.
They are just exceptionally clean with the way that they play out games and can play from almost any game state quite confidently. So we're going to see a lot of very scary matchups near the end of the season. The top of the table is going to be explosive, and I can't wait to start seeing best of series because oh boy, that is going to be that's going to be a match to behold.
Absolutely, yeah, that's going to be absolutely insane when we get round to it.
But as for this one, though, if we take a look at the Grey Warwick side on the other, while it doesn't sound too great having a 1-3 team, we can see that Grey Warwick, though, have had a much nicer way to get here. They have had ESSKT, which they did, I believe, take the dub against. That was a team who we haven't seen yet on stream. Hopefully will soon. They didn't have as good of a time. Surrey Stags, they did lose to them, and then proceeded to beat Lincoln Ascended and Arctic Foxes, respectively, who are two of our lower down teams on the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this is why we always speak about strength of schedule. For now, we got Paladin versus Grey Warwick, but the future coming up for Great Warwick, we see next week they've got Careless and then Robin's Cringes. So we've got Oh Dear, Why Do I Hear Boss Music? And a decent, probably a similar standing team. So the match between Grey Warwick and Robin's Cringes could absolutely be one to watch.
Certainly so, but as for this week, looking forward, this is Portsmouth's chance to turn. They have had the beating of a lifetime with regards to schedule, and if they can beat Grey Warwick here, this will be their luck going on the upshoot. Next week they're against Cabbage Family and Hurtstuck, a middle and bottom of the standings team. So this is the point now where it starts off really rough, but I want to look at Portsmouth Paladins and then cast everybody's mind back to Summer Split LEC with the Schalke Miracle Run of they were, I believe they were 0-7, was it? And pivoted that all the way back into playoffs with a ridiculous win streak in a row. Hilariously low odds for it to even be feasible, let alone possible. And when you look at a team like Portsmouth Paladins, they have the tools to do it. It's just the thing of if they can run that bracket and get themselves through. I have the full belief that they can. They have very aggressive picks in the pools. They have the card champions that if they go off on one, they go off very hardcore. So I think that they can take this game against Grey Warwick. And really, this is the point where you need to start setting in stone how you want to play for the rest of the season, have it locked in, and then you just keep trying to improve on that. If you're trying to just jump around and do different strategies in week 3, at that point, it's a little bit too late, and it's unlikely you're going to turn your luck around.
Yeah, a bit dicey to try and still be experimenting by the time we get to week 3. Most of these teams do seem to have found their identity in one form or another. It'll be interesting to see how Portsmouth shape up. As you said, their upcoming schedule is a lot nicer to look at than their week 1.
And equally, that means for Grey Warwick, it gets much worse. As the split goes on, it is going to get harder and harder for them. So they, crucially, like Portsmouth Paladins, want to turn their luck around. Grey Warwick needs to keep their streak a-going, because if you start to fall flat, it can go very quickly from, 2-0 week, 2-0 week, to 0-2 week, and if you get 0-2 weeks, that is such a killer for the mental. It is a good thing for the Paladins that it was a 3-game week last week, so they did manage to pick up the initial win against DMU T1, so we know this team has legs. They can play very well. We know that DMU T1 have the potential to just completely wipe you out in the early game. And something I want to take a little look at is how both teams are likely to win, specifically around the Dragons.
Yeah, as we were seeing, some very nice stats from week 1. Portsmouth Paladins, despite the 1 and 2 scoreline, have had a 100% first dragon rate. Grey Warwick had a 0% first dragon rate.
Yeah, both teams equal amount of dragons, 9 and 7 record between them on each side. So this is something to then look at and go, okay, well, if Portsmouth Paladins get every dragon almost by default, similar story with Rift Herald, where we can see now instantly that both teams don't really value that objective, with Portsmouth Paladins getting 1 out of the 5 Rift Heralds in their games, and Grey Warwick not getting a single Herald and dropping 6 of them in their games for week 1. So, looking forward, this is a dragon-centric series. Top lane, it's going to be a weird world where the teams start to put a big focus on that Rift Herald, and it's mainly just about looking when both teams spike. Champions like the Nunu on Sammy Youngles has this very early control of the objective. It's free real estate for them to get that first dragon, and I expect to see, pretty much regardless of the champions they pull out today, they will have similar level 5-4 dragon control. So looking forward from there, it becomes, okay, well, when does the Grey Warwick comp start to spike? Is it 1 item? Is it 2 items? Critically, I think that this team likes to draft around that window of 1 and 2, which means that it's mainly the 2nd through 4th dragons that are all Grey Warwick's property. If they drop any of them, Portsmouth are in a lovely spot.
Yeah, they can absolutely look for souls if that is their chosen win con. Hopefully it isn't another Cloud Soul, as we found out from the last matchup.
Yeah, we have got news now that Champ Select will be starting soon. Blessed, we do love a good pre-game in the Newell, and thank the Lord as we take a look at some of these potential things that can happen in the game. I do agree that it is very soul-dependent now, similar to the last game, because it can be very swingy if it is something like the Infernal, where you get those stats rapidly increasing as you do pick up more dragons. Whereas if we do see a repeat of the Cloud Soul incident, then this gets into a very weird game, because since that is not a reliable win condition in of itself, and both of these teams rely heavily around the dragon, it gets a bit weird. They're both going to be left almost just sat there thinking, okay, so what do we do now?
Excellent question. Yeah, obviously they can go on towards the Elder when it spawns after the soul has been taken. Picks and bans coming through, 2 already gone by Scrubbington's Darius.
Yeah, that's where it belongs. If you let that through right now, you are asking for trouble. There's the second rotation, the mid one tricks. Alright, how are we going to finish this?
Trick bans. Hecarim's gone, Echo's gone, Darius is gone, Cat's gone. The Alistair ban is not necessarily a hard ban away, but of course, team player 1234 did have good use on that champion in their win.
Lilia blue one. That's what I'm expecting. Because when we're looking at these two junglers, Lilia is a champion that did not seem to be in Sammy Youngles' pool. But they're actually pivoting, just going to take the Kai'Sa, a very powerful ADC right now. Works very well with Rel, works very well with Leona. With the Alistair band, that means Rel does have the pretty disgusting combo up and on the table. We did see that actually last week, Portsmouth played Kai'Sa in 2 of their games with the Rel. So let's find out with Alistair off the table how they want to try and answer the Kai'Sa on their own.
So it's interesting. I have a bit of a hot take. Actually, that's that Blue 1 Kai'Sa isn't the best choice, because Kai'Sa has some very good counters, like the Aphelios, and they're doing very well on the current patch. Like, you pick Kai'Sa Blue 1, and the opposing team picks Aphelios Thresh, you're already picked into a losing matchup. You can go as aggressive as you like. The Thresh will keep that Aphelios safe, and his extra range means that he is going to have such an easy time against the Kai'Sa in lane.
Certainly so, and I was just waiting to find out if that Zac is a proxy pick. We haven't heard anything about it, so I'm going to go off the assumption that really is Zac.
It's in Sammy's pool.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I can get the logic where you lock in Zac with Samira, right? Because the same thing is why you would want a Rel, of it's just a free knockup. But then the question arises to me of, why is that not a Rel paired with them? Are you that confident that Grey Warwick is not going to lock it in? Because, to be fair, its race on this support role is a big Nautilus player, by a far margin. Nautilus, followed by Rakan, are their most played, but they're throwing it down. They're saying, no, hold on a minute. You can't disrespect me like that. I'm looking in the Rel. What are you going to do now?
Very interesting to see. Obviously, you could just as easily pick the Leona up. With the Alistair gone, that means that the best Samira pairing has kind of been taken away. The option for the Thresh is there. There is the knockup potential, but the hard all-in lane of the Leona is generally the much stronger pickup with that champion.
Yeah, and I'm really glad I didn't start talking about the very, very, very unlikely chance of Zac going in the support role. Not going to happen. We're going to get the much more meta-standard Leona mid. And that's actually a good ban right there, as Grey Warwick themselves had played only Orianna last week after Erisu's Katarina was banned constantly. So right now we're going to see a new champion coming out. Will it be something like the Diana in a similar vein as the Katarina innately, or will they have more control mages that we just haven't had a chance to see? This is what we need to look at, and what else is going to get pinched.
Very interesting to find out. The next ban will be the Set, taking away specifically another pocket pick for Beach in that top lane. He'll have to dig a little bit deeper into the pool. We'll also have to see, obviously, whether Portsmouth Paladins want to leave the counter pick for mid or top. It could go for Panthera or Beach.
Yeah, and Sir Scrubbington did pick up a win last week on the Aurelia, so that's going to be why that's hitting the ban table. Right now, I just want to see more teamfight support, a potential hard magic damage dealer coming out from Grim Panthera, which kind of makes me a bit sad to have seen the Orianna banned instead of taken. Their main other champion is, and I'll happily say this now, Fizz. So we'll have to see if that gets pulled out. Might just be a proxy pick here. We'll have to see what comes out for Grim Panthera mid.
Oh
yeah, banned. Yeah, thank you. Good pointing, good pointing. Nah, that is a nah.
Right, so proxy lock-in, yeah, Nara is going to be picked for Beach in the top lane. Relatively safe, obviously we discussed it prior to the Cringers game versus Careless. We'll have to see what Sir Scrubbington wants to play into that matchup.
Now there is the potential for the Singed. This is a champion that they have in their pool. We'll have to see what they go for as... That proxy, or is that's locked in now? That is Soraka. This could just be raw Soraka top lane. We'll see if it's a proxy pick right now.
Very interesting.
That is a champion. I hear texts, and that very well looks like it's going to be a proxy, but I don't hate Soraka into Gnar in the top lane, just because Gnar doesn't really... Okay, it's Yone. It's Yone. Ignore me. It's Yone.
So that's a Yone pickup for Erisu in the mid lane. Very interesting. We haven't seen him play that.
Yeah, and that is...
right now.
There he is. Please don't be a proxy. Oh, I love me some Viego. This has been the bane of all of my solo queue teammates with my 7% Viego win rate. But looking at this, it's going to be exciting to see the comp come together. And I can't wait to get to talk about this champion that I believe, based on the pick ban, means it's going in the jungle.
Looks that way.
Jungle or top? I can't remember what they had in the
Lilia.
first rotation.
It has to be
okay,
top
so it's
lane
top
because
lane.
Lilia got picked.
Yeah.
So, gonna go through
into
this
Gnar.
in super speed mode. We'll get the champions where they're actually meant to be so we can talk about them properly in earnest. We'll see some bans. Nobody cares about the bans. Yeah. So, Yone mid, Viego top, Lilia jungle. They do have the Rel, but aside from that, that's a very squishy team coming out from Grey Warwick.
And it's what we were talking about in the last game. The more skillful team can try and pull out these squishy comps that execute very quickly, very hard, and very fast, and just run through you before you have a chance to counterplay. Whereas we see Portsmouth, much more reliable team with the tanks, the potential frontline, the hard, obvious way to play. You can see how Portsmouth want to go about this. You slap people about with your Zac and your Rel and your Gnar, and your Samira kills everyone. Everyone. So this is going to be very essential to see Mark get a lot of prevalence on this Samira pick. They do have the Lissandra to support them. We didn't get to talk about that much.
Exactly what I wanted to get your feelings on. How do you think Lissandra does into this Yone matchup? We haven't seen her much since she kind of got nerfed out of existence. I think it was 10-3, 10-4?
Yeah, certainly a little while ago that Lissandra was really the prevalence of play. However, I do quite like them with this comp. A fellow dive buddy, you can see the entirety, every single member of the Portsmouth Paladins is going very far into punish that squishy line that you're talking about. The fact that you don't have the ability to defend against all these divers does make it very scary. Yeah, you have the Rel, but you don't have anybody else that could stop this dive. That is instant death for any of the other four members of the team, because the way that they want to play this from the Portsmouth Paladins is they want to use this Lissandra, jump in, lock down any of the other members of Grey Warwick outside of Rel, then the rest of the team dive onto them, get Samira the reset so they can reposition. Lissandra's passive Slow Ghost will walk at them. That Slow Ghost will nullify a lot of Lilia's MS. will give Viego a hell of a time they can't deal with, and basically, Kai'Sa doesn't have anybody to dive on top of. There's no backline. What does Kai'Sa dive on top of when there's no backline? She's going to have to go for a very defensive build here, and just try and use the ult to reposition away from this constant dive threat.
While the Killer Instinct can absolutely be used in that respect, it is certainly a divergence from how you would normally like to play as this Kai'Sa, and we'll have to see if Doki is ready to play that particular playstyle.
Yeah, and speaking of ready to play that playstyle, this Yone on Erasu, not a champion they have much experience on, definitely not in the new Varsity this split so far. It is a new champion to them for this, and it's going to be very important to see if they can really get something done these first few levels, because Sammy Youngles on this Zac loves the pick, but doesn't really do much until they have level 3. Now, while that's only a limited time, level 1, 2 to 3, the Young can get a decent amount done there. They can get wave control over this Lissandra. It's going to be very much dependent on if they can avoid these Lissandra Qs, if they can get the initial push in, maybe get a cheetah recall. That's going to be super important for them. I'm going to be interested to see if they opt for the teleport, because if they do, they could use that to get back the lane in that situation and set up Lilia on over here, the only fill on Lilia, to invade, try and get a lot of pressure, and put Zac behind early before they're able to fight back.
That's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting the only Phil to have much lane pressure in the early game, but Zac, he maxes his E first. The Elastic Skin Slingshot gains range as you level it up. So we can actually expect quite aggressive play to be coming out from him. I really do want to see him try to influence his top lane matchup, influence his mid lane matchup. Bot lane seems like maybe the...
Flippy.
It's very coin flippy. Yeah, so perhaps he is there to be the coin.
Certainly so, and it works extremely well with Samira, with the ultimate E, basically every ability that isn't the W has a knockup. And because they're staggered in that way, Samira can get multiple uses of their dash passive where they can blink in, knock somebody up and extend the CC off of Zac. That is going to be super important to use coming into these fights, and I really can't wait to see how it gets used. Sammy Youngles has been playing this Zac for a long time, and right now you can really just see both teams. You got the all offense and the all defense comp when it comes to just the amount of tankiness, and then it's the all pick versus the all dive comp. So this is just going to be 100% down to the execution of the teams. If the Grey Warwick squad can get ahead in those individual roles and play on this very much razor's edge of just trying to position around the enemy team's dive, or if they don't get enough done, which they haven't notoriously, in the early game they are not a proactive team. They have got, I believe it was something like a maximum of 5 kills at the 15-minute mark in one of the stats I was looking at, something like that, where Grey Warwick just doesn't do very much until they get to level 6 and until they start getting into these second dragon fights. So Portsmouth Paladins going for the reliable bet of, okay, if you're not going to do anything to us early, we're just going to get first items and then jump.
Yeah, they go hard till they get it. We'll see when they get onto the Rift if they will be so in it. We will. How do you feel this is actually going to go? I actually want to know as well. There should be a poll going out in the chat at some point. Production, how did that pan out? Oh. 79% in favor of Grey Warwick.
Yeah. That is, you know what? Name brand right there. Everybody knows Grey Warwick. Yep. One of the most storied orgs in just new full stop. They have been around since pretty much the start. I mean, it's free real estate when you could just use the name of a skin as your team name, but recently going under some renovations, this team losing out on their coach Fenton, who had been with them for ever so long. But the team is recovering well, starting to find their new identity, and let's see if they can do it here with this supremely high skill floor comp.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how individual lane matchups pan out. We are onto the Rift. Excellent. Round 5 is a go, ladies and gentlemen, and we see the teams taking their places on the map. It does look like, once again, a fairly standard lines of scrimmage setup.
Yeah, no big shenanigans happening level 1. This game would be interested to see if the Only Phil opts to try and invade this Raptor camp early, as Viego and Lilia are very strong in this level 1. That's because Viego can stack Conqueror faster than basically any other champion, because the Q into auto applies, I believe it's 6 stacks straight away, because it is using
It's
just the fact...
auto-attack, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It doubles the on-hit, which means that you just get a ridiculously quick Conqueror, and especially because you can then steal people's form with your passive if you do ever get a kill, you don't really want level 1s into Sir Scrubbington. And you know what, the more I'm talking, the more I realise that this is just Darius, but without the Stride Breaker. This is just Darius.
Darius with extra steps.
Yeah, very much so. So we'll have to see how they pilot it on this early game, as a very late ward comes in from the Portsmouth squad and is going to be able to read the only fill right there. They're going to either have to subvert taking those Raptors, or they're going to get spotted out and give Sammy Youngles the info they need to make these level 3 plays.
Well, as we see, the Portsmouth bot lane are already present, so as was suspected... Oh, there's a blue buff on the red anyway. Warwick, know full well that Sammy Youngles is starting on that buff, and he will go to clear out his jungle, as is right and proper.
Oh, I really like that from Sammy Youngles. Having the information that was warded, they path upwards to make it look like they're heading to Krogs, and then instantly beeline it to these Raptors. Now it comes down to...
Cone, which was really clever too.
Yeah, the leveling from both teams to see if the only fill is going to invade this blue, they will certainly get before any contest happens. But that's the problem with Zac right now, of just how slow they clear and how weak they are before they get to level 3. They really don't offer basically anything as a skirmish, just coming out and bot. This Red Prior could go very badly for Lilia if they get found out.
Yeah, if team player and Mark Donovan can move up to actually contest this, it could be very bad for the only fill. It looks like Sammy Youngles is just going to end up having to concede most of his bot side jungle here. Has not even finished not even got level 3 yet. Shows up at his blue buff to find it already gone. The only fill is now roaming down in towards this bot lane. There is the engage. The attract repel onto Mark Donovan. Will be able to get away for a second, but the final hit will come through. Doki gets first blood. Team player is going to be stunned up. He might try to flash away, but he knows it is pointless. First blood and a double kill picked up for the Grey Warwick bot laner.
What we needed to see from Warwick, they cannot just play passive in this game. You need to get stuff done, because otherwise the enemy comp is just a machine that is going to roll over you in team fights. So really good stuff right there. Proactive pathing from the only fill completely puts Sammy Youngles in the dirt right now. They're walking around level 2, and this is not going to work. They're going to invade the soon-to-be level 4 Lilia. Regardless of the mid-prior you have, this is going to end badly.
It certainly looks that way. So Scrubbington is here as well. Actually, Sammy Youngles is going to have to flash away immediately, but the chase down should be there. Grim Tantera is going to move up to try and contest this. Will get knocked into the blobs. Grim Tantera is going to have to back away here. Who will they donate the kill onto is the question. It will go onto Sir Scrubbington on that Viego. Of course, can use the Elastic Slingshot to get back to lane quicker, and had already been pushing in the top lane. Beach was forced back early and has picked up an early call.
Now, something to note is, unfortunately, they can't use that Elastic Slingshot to get back to lane, and that's because Zac was level 2 when they died. Sammy Youngles is really stuck this game. They have got their second Raptors respawning now before they have hit level 3, and I can tell you that's rough. Zac
feels bad.
Yeah, they are not loving life right now, and they need to get something done, because Lilia is going to be able to just start constant invading as Sir Scrubbington take a trade.
Beach. Big trade here. Beach will use the hop away. Takes a huge chunk of damage. You're just saying the Blade of the Ruin King Q for Viego does a lot of damage if you scale up in the early game, and gives you so much sustain in that lane as well.
The way to think about him for top laning for most matchups is you can pretty easily default to thinking like Darius, but they don't have the inbuilt sustain. They're much better at avoiding ganks in the first place than taking the 1v2. If you try and look at it like that, you can see why it's up Sir Scrubbington's alley. And I'm excited to see what happens when it comes to team fights, because there's some pretty good material to steal on the enemy team. A whole lot of CC. It's going to be scary, because you get the passive as well critically, which means when you become Lissandra, for example, everybody you kill from there will drop a Lissandra ghost for your team. So if Grey Warwick can keep this lead that they have managed to build up off of the bot lane and top lane respectively, then it's going to be a stomp. Like, this is going to be very rough for Portsmouth. However, they need to really be proactive with keeping that lead going. And we see the only Phil doing that, ready to invade into the top side, in the bot side of Portsmouth if this doesn't end up being a skirmish. They're just currently waiting. They know Sammy Youngles has to be on this side. They're going to take the free dragon while the bot lane can't really contest. Actually, it's Cloud, so no, you can't. You can't kill Cloud early.
Yeah, as it comes to early damage, Cloud, because it attacks so fast, it is probably actually the hardest first Drake to take as a Lilia. You just don't have the sustain yet to take it down safely.
Easily so, and that does mean that there is the potential for, if this play goes well for Portsmouth in the bot side, we might see them get their pivotal first dragon, but that ward does fish out. Doesn't mean anything, though.
Looking for the dive here. Comes in with the claw. There is going to be an ulti coming through. Doki going incredibly low. Team player will get taken down, however, in trade. Sammy Youngles survived with a sliver of health. That was almost a huge outplay for the Grey Warwick bot lane. Mark Donovan being chased onto. Erisu is there with the Fate Seal. Exhaust comes down immediately. Mark Donovan will survive and get back to his tower. 2 kills picked up, but team player goes down in trade on the bot lane dive.
And by the skin of their teeth, Portsmouth managed to scoot out of there with a lead built up. Big trade topside. This is actually going to go rough for Sir Scrubbington if they try and commit to a longer trade against the Mega Gnar. But, as is, not going to be too eventful by the looks of it. We'll have to see now. With the Conqueror stacked up, actually, watch Beach. If they go into Mini Gnar in range, then yeah, this is a kill for Scrubbington. But,
The Gnar does not connect to Scrubbington, making good use of the concealment from that E. And see, only Phil and it's Reese denying, or defying expectation rather, Grey Warwick take the first Drake.
And that is the first of Varsity for them as first Dragons go. So that is going to be instantly starting off on their snowball. And
Scrubbington goes in onto Beach again. So you can't trade back against that. You don't know which angle the Viego's coming from. And as you can see, he is picking up a decent CS advantage, has already picked up a kill for helping take down Sammy Youngles over aggression. And we actually see Sammy is there in the top side. Flashes have been burnt for both Scrubbington and Beach. The trade in mid lane will end up coming to nothing, I think. Sammy is currently taking his Krogs, may look to try and go aggressive. Erisu probably can't take down Grim Panthera in this current situation as the Fate Seal is not available.
Yeah, and we didn't get to see it right then, but both Scrubbington and Beach flashed at the same time, so I assume that means that they were on critically low HP under tower. We didn't see the Heartbreaker get used for the Viego ult though, so they are still able to threaten kills onto them as another trade just happens between this Yone and the Sandra. This is pretty much how it's going to be. Yone will dash in, the Sandra will root them, and it'll just be slapping each other and walking away.
Yeah, very much. The Yone will always try to go aggressive whenever the Soul Unbound is available. You can see level 6 is starting to be picked up in the bot lane. It is actually the bot lane of Portsmouth that hits 6th first, despite that very unfortunate early game play with the Only Phil being able to come down. It looks like Beach is going to have to step away from his tower for fear of a dive.
And with Dragon not up for another 3.5 minutes, we're going to see actually traded on the side of the map. Sammy Youngles is going to attempt to make this dive onto bot side. Their blobs should be back up by the looks of it. And then if we take a look at Lilia on the other side of the map, they're just trading it for a Herald. So this pressure of Zac being here does force them off the tower, but they're not going to get much from it. So this is definitely in Grey Warwick's favour. They're going to be able to use this Herald to potentially dive top lane if they want to do a play instantly, or more likely they'll reset and then look for some kind of play next time the dragon spawns to use this Rift Herald to set up beforehand.
I certainly will. Just coming up on towards the 10-minute mark, and there is already a 1,500 gold advantage for Grey Warwick. They've obviously already picked up the first Drake. The first Herald has gone down in their favour as well, which means there is also extra potential gold just sat there in the Only Phil's pocket.
Yeah, and what we talked about is you need to skill cap them. You need to beat them early by the side of Grey Warwick. If you don't get an early lead, then your comp really struggles to function. They've done the first step. They've got an early lead. The question now is it enough? Will this be a large enough gold difference heading into the second, third dragon fights for Portsmouth to be able to contest? As we see, no stopwatch yet for Grim Panthera. That's going to be big. As soon as they pick up one of those, they're going to be a nuisance and a half in these team fights. Looking across the rest of the map, doesn't seem to be any abstract itemization, just the standard.
Bit of a catch onto Arisu here. Meanwhile, in the Soul Unbound, the Attract Repel does manage to catch them out there. Arisu will eventually go down. Grim Pantera will be picked up by the only Phil, and it is Reese and Phil will just kind of wail on Team Player. I do not see him getting back to the tower in one piece. He does not. Another double kill picked up, this time on the only Phil. Sammy Youngle's trying to come in here, trying to catch onto the only Phil. The catch is there, but there is a stopwatch available. Mark Donovan has not stacked up the style points. He will not be able to use the ultimate. Nearly has it available, but Sir Scrubbington comes in with the teleport. Mark Donovan goes over the wall to safety. Sammy Youngle's long-range slingshot to safety as well. Beach has shown up in the mid lane, but far too late. Thankfully, not too much was lost for Portsmouth in that trade. It was a 2-for-1, but it could have been far, far worse.
Yeah, we saw that Grim Panther and Team Player actually opted to try and take a super aggressive trade onto the Yone who had disconnected with the Soul Unbound. And while they did get a massive chunk of HP out of that, they then committed the try and chase down after that with the Leona ult onto Erasu. They had to flash out of it, but when they turned around with the ultimate, it just locked them both in place for Lilia and Rel to collapse. And Lilia in this early game, they pump out so much damage compared to like every other champion, just because it's going off a max HP from the passive, and the Q, you can almost always get true damage proc with somebody like the Rel there to hold them in place. So we saw it end up be a 2-for-1 in the favor of Warwick there, but then the fight just continued long after, with everybody just converging on mid. Great sidestep from Mark Donovan flashing over the wall there to survive. They would have fed a kill to Scrubbington there, and they would have then been able to jump back over at Sammy Youngles as the Samira, so very barely avoided going down 4 kills and a mid lane turret for the Portsmouth squad. But right now we see set up, like we talked about, Herald's here, gonna go down, gonna be placed, try and get the plates, and what can Portsmouth do?
Team Player going very aggressive. The Solar Flare comes down, but the Attract Repel is going to counteract. There is the catch, however, the return will come through. Mark Donovan takes down the only Phil. Big shutdown, however, the first turret will get destroyed. Shelley doing some good work for Grey Warwick. The fight does not seem to be over, however, so Scrubbington is here. It's Reese looking for a situation as well. Sammy Youngles goes forwards onto Doki. Good damage coming through. He will go down. Mark Donovan will pick up a killing spree. Nearly got enough for that ultimate. Inferno Trigger has not come out just yet. Double kill will be picked up as the support will fall as well. Oop. So Scrubbington will have to use the camouflage from his E to run back to the turret. Names are hard, man. It's Reese.
Yeah,
it's Reese.
Yeah. That's alright. Because what we saw there was the ease of execution comp from Portsmouth really just trumping the enemy team. As long as your Samira can't get focused, which if you look at the Warwick squad, nobody can really do that. If Rel doesn't hold him still, the enemy team really takes a little while to burst out the Samira. They're very mobile in these fights, and just the fact that they could constantly get the read dashes if they are ever not instantly CC'd, or if they ever get a reset in the fight, they can just avoid everything the enemy team has to offer if a fight starts in their favor. Great force by Portsmouth there. The gold was actually about even when Lilia died, because they got the 2 plates and the first blood tower, so it was actually in the favor of Warwick. But obviously we saw then Portsmouth went on to take the Ocean Dragon, evening up, and it's a mountain soul this game, which is going to be, frankly, disgusting for either team.
Yeah, it's equally beneficial. The shield and the extra resists will help in all forms. So Scrubbington trying to be cheeky and catch onto Beach, but a boomerang will dissuade any notions of that. Looking across the individual matchups, of course, the jungle is still extremely the only Phil favoured because of the unfortunate early situation that Sammy Youngles was put into. Top lane is actually surprisingly even, a slight CS advantage for Scrubbington, and of course that kill picked up. We now see the next Herald spawning in under a minute. The catch is going to be here, actually. It's Reese. Gets there with the Attract Repel and the Magnet Storm. There is the Lilting Lullaby. Team Player will go down. So Scrubbington will pick up the Leona Soul, but there is no follow-up to be had. It looks like Grey Warwick are just going to be happy with the priority looking towards this next Herald.
And in the very last second of Mega Gnar, Beach does manage to get the ultimate, which keeps them self-alive there. Does not manage to save their support. And this is the thing, if we look, Warwick, any 3v3 is favoured to them. Almost like any matchup, unless Samira's there, it's definitely favoured, and even then it's close. But Portsmouth, 100% favoured in 5v5s, as you would expect, like a standard fight. Unless it goes Rel ultimate into Yone ultimate into Lily asleep, or any alteration like that. Yeah, it basically has to be ideal.
1v1 in the bot lane here. Mark Donovan being caught by Erisu. I don't see him winning this. However, the shield bow has been proc. There's the Inferno trigger. Great damage coming through. Erisu doing damage back and forth. Erisu looks like he will go down. Mark Donovan picks up the 1v1. I believe he was 2 levels down when that fight started.
And critically, just look at the itemization. Mark Donovan has their mythic.
Meanwhile, another 2v2 catches it onto the mid lane. Doki gets destroyed. Sammy Youngles will pick up credit for this one. Team player coming in may try for the dive onto its Reese. They decide against it. Happy with yet another pick for the Portsmouth Paladins team.
Yeah, a big counter-attack right there after the 3-man play into the top side from Warwick. Actually, that was Sammy Youngles just zoning them off of the tower there. I don't think they forced a sun, but that is going to certainly secure them a lot of damage onto this tier 1 mid. That's going to be very important for this comp. Champions like Zac and Leona want the option to flank. They want the option for you to have to run really far forward to actually get into the fight, because that means the enemy is more likely to split up, more likely to take separate routes. And if that ever happens, you are pick city for this team. It is Mountain Rift. There's plenty of walls for Nar to get the ultimate onto. And just looking through the rest of the comp, everything that Portsmouth have can force big skirmishes like this.
In the jungle. Sorry to cut you off here, but it looks like there is no way for this Yone to escape. Flash is available, but he will be taken down before it can be used. And great use of the vision in the jungle from this Portsmouth Paladins lineup. I wanted to point out, look at what they're doing with Mark Donovan. They're leaving him alone in the bot lane. He picked up solo tower gold. He has been solo farming, getting solo XP. He has 30 CS in advantage over Doki, 5-1 at this stage of the game. This Samira is going to be absolutely terrifying, which is exactly what his team needs him to be.
And this is actually, for a minor tangent, what makes me so sad of when Uzi retired. Because you could just see RNG drafting a comp like this for them in that classic iteration. And they're doing it right now for Portsmouth. They're funneling every resource on the map straight into Mark Donovan. And because of that, the enemy team doesn't want to itemize into MR. And because you're not doing that, Grim Panthera can then force on with the double penetration of the shoes and the Ludens. They are really scary in of themselves. They are a single AP threat on the team. While there is magic damage through the Zac and Leona, it's nothing as close. So the reason we saw, just to quickly loop back around, the Samira Yone 1v1 right there, was because Samira is getting so many funneled resources. They had shield bow, Yone had components. The next fight may not be as even, but saying that, Yone now has the shield bow. Samira grabbed a collector to go on top of it. So, really, Mark Donovan is just a force to be reckoned with, and it is all about if they ever step out of this position, if Grey Warwick have a chance in a fight. If Samir is there, run away.
So I like the play from Grey Warwick, putting the Herald down in the mid lane. Unfortunately, it does not get the charge off, but it does force priority. And as we can now see, Grey Warwick gets the opportunity to sit themselves in the river to deny Portsmouth from coming in onto this. Erisu is forced to flash over the wall. The stun did actually come through. Its Wreath is going to try to fall. This is such a chaotic fight. Erisu tries to get back in. Grim Tantera is sent drowsy, but immediately drops into the stopwatch. Sammy Youngles is managing to tank so much damage up. Beach picks up the kill onto Sir Scrubbington. Mark Donovan now going to go forward, but is caught by the stun. Doki gets taken down, and that is actually a clean ace and a quadra kill for Mark Donovan. This Samira is massive.
And Portsmouth charging through the enemy team like the paladins of their namesake. You could see just the attempted force right there from Grey Warwick. They had the little components across the whole fight. There was the Rel ultimate, the Magnet Storm held them still, set Doki up for the dive into the backline. But just the Samira W, the ability to negate all those projectiles, stops the counter dive, and despite being slept, despite being jumped on, everything hit Mark Donovan that could. They survived through all of it with just the sheer power of teamwork holding them together, keeping the enemy team off of them. No other defensive tools needed. They still have exhaust, so just looking at that, Grey Warwick are in a dire strait coming into the next dragon and the Baron that is now on the table.
Saying the strength of teamwork equates to the power of friendship, Melvin Issel.
I would say that if this was a Yu-Gi-Oh episode, then Portsmouth are most certainly the protagonists.
Fantastic. Just
Yeah.
past 20 minutes. 2 Drakes have been picked up for Portsmouth Paladins now. Obviously, quite a while before the next one comes up. It'll be past 30 minutes before Soul is even on the table. Baron is now available, and this time they have sent Mark Donovan towards the top side to be the beneficiary of even more free farm, free XP, free gold.
Yeah, they're getting Krug Camp for themselves right now. To be fair, Zach takes that very slowly, so, you know what, they were probably going to give this to Samira in every world, but can we just take a look at the Samira's gold a minute, please?
Yeah.
Let's just see, 11,000 to 8! That is a 3k gold lead on Samira. That is 2/3 of Portsmouth's total gold lead, just on Samira. If you take her off the table, that is a hilarious swing back in Warwick's favour, but that's easier said than done, as with the amount of gold they were sat on, I wouldn't be surprised if they just went back and got a GA. Oh, this is just
He's
rude.
freezing it as well.
He's freezing it!
LS be praised.
Yeah, certainly, and it's exactly what LS likes. What can Warwick do here? Sweet nothing. The Samira is just freezing a top wave, shadowing it. This is the equivalent of just having the minions funneled into them as if they had an inhib down in the top lane, without losing a single turret. So, Portsmouth, very happy with this situation. Only issue is, they are now without Samira. So this is one of the few times that a fight can go Grey Warwick favoured. They just need to be very careful with it, and like we said, squishy comp, they need to have a focused target and burst them out quickly. There's just not many of those.
I really, really respect the choice from Grim Panthera there. They knew, obviously, the Samira, the holder of all their gold, is currently in the top lane. They were not able to defend, so they didn't. They just stepped back, let the mid-tier 1 go down. They'd already taken down the mid-tier 1 themselves, so it was no immense loss for them.
Yeah, you don't care if it's an open map. Portsmouth love an open map right now, which sounds weird when the enemy has a Kai'Sa and should be able to collapse onto fights, but the thing is, it just doesn't matter quick enough. The entire Warwick team just dies too fast for them to really do this guerrilla warfare that they would normally like to do with this comp. And I haven't got to talk about Viego enough. This is a disgusting
The floor is yours,
champion.
my man.
Alright, so my TED Talk is about to begin. Now, if we take a look at this champion, they're currently ahead against the Gnar in this side lane, and Gnar has fully opted for the team fight, with the Frostfire being their mythic item. So Sir Scrummington can attempt to push the game away. But the only thing is, until they pick up that mythic, I'm gonna guess it'll be the Kraken Slayer. They aren't going to do much. And, you know, I'm not going to get to talk because Mark Donovan's here to bully.
There's the catch. The Gnar does not land. The channel on the W actually gets Sir Scrummington to safety. Very nice play to get away from that potential dive. And now we actually see Grey Warwick going to go on, take the initiative and go on towards the Baron. Teleport coming in from Sir Scrummington. The Kai'Sa is on the way as well. It looks like Portsmouth are going to make their way across as well. Grim Panthera is looking for the catch. The catch onto... onto the only Phil, absolutely destroyed in the 1v1, and the Baron is going to be turned on. Portsmouth thinking, you know what, that's a good idea. I think we'll have a go.
Yeah, the problem being just Lissandra having that flank right there meant that Lilia getting popped is really just the end of the fight. There's nothing you could do. You can't contest the Baron without your jungler, especially in this spot. So right now it's just Grey Warwick trying to collect the pieces, push out the minion waves, and Portsmouth just taking the safer comp for a best of one. I'm not going to talk too badly about Warwick's comp until after the game, because I do think it has merit. The only problem is when you are behind, that runs out quick. Especially, and I'm going to continue my TED Talk with Viego, because they require you to have a team that can burst out a single member, an important member, quickly. And if you could do that, Viego obviously gets the full reset of becoming that member, and then going back to themselves. Now, everybody on the Portsmouth squad would be a disgusting steal for Viego. Even Leona, because of how tanky you get and the max HP you steal back in return whenever Viego picks up a passive.
Could kill them, Melvin Izzle. If only they could actually kill them.
Yeah, that's the critical problem, where they can't kill people. So, unless Portsmouth step wildly out of position, or if Mark Donovan just straight up feels themselves way too much and ints into the backline before anybody else is with them, which I can't see happening, then it's rough for Warwick. It's really rough. You could threaten side lanes with the Yone and the Viega respectively, but
actually what's happening, actually, the only Phil and Arisu find the catch onto Grim Panther, going to flash back on towards the top outer turret, but there is no survival here. The root does come through, but unfortunately the tower aggro is on Arisu, only gets the shield bow procced. The turret will go down, the mid-inner is going to fall with the Baron-empowered minions, and the wave clear is not so great here. There is the catch, there is the engage, so Scrubbington is going to be fully gone on to. Team player will eventually fall, was the taker of most of that tower aggro. Sir Donovan is put to sleep. Mark Donovan is put to sleep. It's Reese is now going to try back for the cat, but Mark Donovan, there's just so much protection for him. Sammy Youngles just makes it so easy for him to execute the fight. There is the Inferno trigger. It doesn't actually hit onto anyone, I think. And Beach will kill the only Phil. This middle inhib will fall. I don't think they can push this much further.
Oh, I think they can. They have a Lissandra teleport. You just watch right now. Here it is.
There it is.
I thought they were going to use that to tank tower aggro, but Mark Donovan could run through everybody.
Have to wait for the Frozen Tomb. The Frozen Tomb is not available right now. They do manage to get the crack. So Sir Scrubbington goes down. Mark Donovan, legendary. Erisu is going to get taken down by the Inferno trigger. Another double kill for Mark Donovan. Doki is here, but I don't think anything is going to be able to be done. It's Reese can try as he might, but the towers go down. One Nexus turret down. Two Nexus turrets will be down in just a second. Mark Donovan just free-firing on towards this Nexus. There is another Inferno trigger. Nearly dies to the fountain. Will end up on the fountain. Does die to the fountain, but Portsmouth Paladins will close out the game on 27 minutes. 22 kills to 11. And in total, just over an 8k gold lead. Samiradif?
Yeah, that's a champ right there. Okay, so let's put that into perspective, because obviously that looked like just hard Samira diff, but if we just go back through and obviously give the MVP to Mark Donovan, let's get out of the way, another standard one, you can't really complain. It's like, after a point, you can't really give it to any of the facilitating members because they all did so much together. Only thing I would like to say, though, is specific props to Sammy Youngles on that very last force at the inhibitor, where they actually connected the Zat Q, and then instead of just slamming the one target, they leapt in first, got the chain knock up onto two. That was what let Mark Donovan go in for that first dive that just completely ended the game. So big props to them. If it weren't such a sad early game, I think they very well could have been eligible for the MVP that game. But to recap, we saw a very aggressive and high skill floor comp from the Grey Warwick squad. They were trying to experiment with themselves. They had a lot of different picks up. I really liked the idea of it. You could see how they wanted to, but it was the kind of thing of once you get so far behind, the game is all but over. You need to be like the best creme de la creme of picks, and you need to know exactly how to pilot your comp to be able to do it. And this is the kind of game where you want to practice that, where before you're against the very best teams, you want to try and, warm yourself up, figure out if you can pull off these kind of styles. But as we saw, Portsmouth Paladins, they beat DMU-T1, and you can see how they do it. They play a clean team fight. They know exactly how to go about themselves. They conduct it cleanly. They conduct it together, fully diving. Power of friendship for Portsmouth Paladins.
Wonderful adage that I love to bring out. When you want to think outside the box, make sure you have the box filled in first. And Portsmouth Paladins are all about that. They play by the book, but they play by the book so well that that game, it looked a lot more one-sided than it actually was.
For certain, early game Grey Warwick definitely got off to some good leads. They had the individual skill checks that they needed to do to get the comp started. It was just then the crossing the I's and, dotting the I's and crossing the T's after that. Yeah. Well, no, basically what they did there was cross the I's and dot the T's. Yeah. So it didn't go so well for them into the middle game, and that was just because Mark Donovan did get to pop off so hard in some of those fights.
And you need to play so hard into him.
Yeah, they really did. It was good knowledge by the Portsmouth Paladins squad to enable that, and just looking at the insane stats, to be fair, saying that, the mid lane of Lissandra was very close behind them, as it was basically 18,000 damage between the two of them on average, so really a two-horse race with regards to just running through the enemy team, and I think that now that that's been on stream, it should enlighten some of the teams that the Paladins will be against in the future to maybe try and break through this strategy. But the thing is, these comps that Paladins were running are usually more effective against bottom of the table teams, and that's who they're facing now. So unless we see some true innovation coming out, I will expect Portsmouth Paladins to be able to run this strat back and back again, and we're probably going to see them in a 4th to 5th place by the end of the season. So not the last you're hearing from them.
Absolutely not. Very excited to see how they play out the rest of the split. Of course, we will more than likely see both of these teams on stream again before the end of the group stage, before we get into the juicy bracket stage. I believe that is all of the content we have, at least the matches for the day. So I'm going to do one more shout out to our sponsors, Twitch Student, Logitech G, and Unite Students. Thank you so much for your support. It helps us do what we do here, and what we do here is so much fun.
Very much so. I do love getting to cast some good Newell games, and those were some good Newell games.
Absolutely were. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I've been Will Brackish Brooks. I've been joined by the marvellous Callum Melvinizel Isles, and we will see you again, not next week, but the week after, as our good friends Greyheart and Nymera will be bringing you week 3 next Wednesday, same time, same place. Do not miss it.
I was all alone. Then you showed up under my umbrella. Oh, shelter from the cold. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from strangers don't lost in time with one another? The hourglass takes us further from here. Strangers don't lost in time with one another. The hourglass takes us further from here. face down, lost in time with one another. The hourglass takes us further from here. I was all alone. Then you showed up under my umbrella. Oh, sheltered from the cold.